Hey, what's up, leaders, and welcome back to Better in 30, where we try to help you obtain longevity in leadership in less than 30 minutes. I believe last session we did just that, and I believe we'll be able to do it again today. Last session, we gave you the intro to leadership. We talked about the subject, so you really want to be a leader. Today, we're going to give you the rundown of followership by going through this session entitled, How Many Followers You Got? That's the big question. That's one that everyone wants to ask. So we're about to dive into that session. Let's go. All right, so let's go to work. How many followers you got? How many followers you got? All right, so no one, for some reason, wants to follow anymore. We're living in an age and time where everyone has expertise. Everyone is an expert, and following has developed a bad reputation. According to Peter G. Nordhaus, the idea of being a follower is positive for some and negative for others. Now, I want you to start your business. I really want you to be a leader, but let's not downplay the importance of the follower in order to prove the importance of the leader. We portray followers or following as a sad position when following actually requires significant power. Here's something I don't know if we fully grasped. The end of followership is also the end of leadership. If no one is following, then no one is leading. I want to show you the significance of the follower, and hopefully by the end of this session, hopefully by the end of this discussion, we will see that the follower is just as important as the leadership. For the sake of our conversation today, let me bring back to the forefront the Sasquatch Music Festival. It's the same video that we discussed during our last session, but I want us to think about it from the perspective of a follower rather than the leader. This video shows a large group of people seated on the lawn listening to party music. No one is standing and no one is dancing. All of a sudden, a guy walks into the camera shot and starts breaking down in the middle of all of these seated people. I mean, he looks ridiculous. He looks crazy, but he's getting it in. For about 30 to 45 seconds, he dances by himself. And after those 30 to 45 seconds, another guy decides to dance with him. They dance together for about 45 seconds alone, just them two. Then another guy comes, then another, then a couple others. And it becomes a rippling effect until there are more people dancing than there are sitting. Now, I know I may have lost some of you because it's the same video, but there's a different lesson being taught to us. I believe there are some strong points within this video, both from a leadership perspective and a followership perspective. So we talked about what we saw with the leader. One, if you're going to be a leader, you have to take risks. Two, when your leadership journey begins, your effectiveness will be uncertain. Three, all you need is one follower for your leadership journey to begin. And four, your leadership is for somebody, but it's not for everybody. That's leadership. But what did you see from the perspective of a follower? Here's what I see in this video. Number one, it's just as risky to follow as it is to lead. The first guy looked crazy, but so did the second guy. It almost takes the same amount of risk to be the first as it does to be the second. The first guy was like, I'm gonna start this dance party. I'm gonna get it cracking. I'm gonna get it going. The second guy was like, oh man, this is bad. Let me help this guy. And that's a risk as well. All right, number two, the follower validates the leader's product or vision. The first guy looked crazy until somebody joined him. The leader's vision isn't valid until someone buys in. It is not a valid product until its first valid purchase. Let me say that again. It's not a valid product until its first valid purchase. Your buy-in is the validation that this product works. You watching this session validates its purpose, even if it's just one view outside of myself. That means this has purpose. All right, and number three, In some cases, the follower is more influential than the leader. Ooh, okay. The leader influenced one person to join him. The one person who joined him influenced the rest. You were influenced to follow, but you have the power to influence your family, your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors, and your enemies. The leader was able to reach you. You are able to reach everything connected to you. All right. Although you're here for leadership, I believe every good leader is a follower. So to cover yourself as a follower, here are a few things you need to do. Number one, do your research. Don't just follow everyone who seems worth following. Just because they're intelligent, it doesn't mean they're integral. Just because they're popular, it doesn't mean they're personable. Just because they're sexy, it doesn't mean they're scholarly. Don't attach your name to every brand without doing your research. The reality is, following is easier than it's ever been. You can follow by the click of a button. You can attach your name to people you've never met. Yes, they have content, but do they have substance? They're saying a lot without saying anything. Make sure you do your research. All right, number two, how you follow determines who will follow. Here's a question to ask yourself. Is how you follow an attraction or a repellent? Are more people inclined to follow because of you, or are people more inclined to keep scrolling because of you? Are you a good representation of the product you are following? Leadership can be hindered if those following are bad presenters. Ooh, all right. The distance to leadership, or the distance of leadership, how long leadership lasts, is determined by those that follow. That's why I mentioned earlier that following is crucial for leadership. All right, number three, followers are leaders. Sadly, a leader's worth or value is deemed by their following in this day and age. How many followers you got? A leader's value is determined by that question. How many followers you got? That's the first question asked, or that's the first thought that comes to mind. How many followers you got? My worth as a leader shouldn't just be calculated by the amount of followers I have. That's part of the equation, but that's not the entire equation. The other part of the equation is who follows my followers. Ooh, have you thought about that? Followers are leaders. We can't always see how far our leadership goes. When you post content, when you preach sermons, when you give advice, you cannot calculate how your content is applied in the life of each of your followers. Some people share your advice and give you credit. Some people steal your advice and pretend as if it's their own. Some people live out your advice without saying a word. But in all three instances, your leadership is beyond your reach. It's applied beyond your reach. You can't calculate every conversation your followers have about you. You can't calculate how many times your quote is used. You can't calculate what is or isn't posted. Therefore, the influence of a leader relies on the influence of their followers. So the question is not how many followers you got. The question is, what kind of followers do you have? Are your followers leaders? Are your followers influential? Are your followers making an impact? Are your followers applying your advice? Are your followers sharers? Are your followers attracting people to your product? There needs to be an appreciation for the follower. I'm not going to ask you how many followers you got. My question is, what kind of followers do you have? I hope this session, it was brief, but I hope this session has helped you in your leadership journey. I need you to subscribe to this YouTube page, and I need you to share this session with every single leader you know. More sessions are coming that I believe will help every leader across the board. Some will be short, some will be a little bit longer, but all of them will be less than 30. We're just getting started. Let's get better in 30. Peace.